in your broadcasting days, you're, of course, really known for your ability to, you were the best at encapsulating a night and a fight.
Yeah, buddy.
Could we ask you to deliver the same kind of monologue, just to look at camera and do the same for last Saturday's historic rematch? This camera right here, if you don't mind.
Whoa. Bye-bye, American Pie. That's what Tyson Fury sang after the fight. Is it bye-bye to American heavyweights? Was Deontay Wilder the last great, if you'll pardon the expression, black hope? Because most of the great heavyweight champions of the 20th century were black guys who came out of the South. Is that storyline still a story? We'll find out when the rematch happens. Meanwhile, let's just enjoy what we just saw. A show unlike any heavyweight show I've seen in a long time.
Amen to that. It was one of the best. Larry, it is an honor to have you with us, sir. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. Good to see you.
Thank you all.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Wow, Larry Merchant asks if Deontay Wilder is the last black hope of heavyweights. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, sign up for ESPN Plus using my link. It definitely helps my channel succeed and grow. So if you're interested in ESPN Plus, use that link. It does help. And you can now get UFC 248. It's coming on March 7th. Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. And, you know, again, it helps the channel. Now, you guys heard at the beginning, Larry Merchant was asked to deliver basically closing sentiments on Wilder Fury. He was a special guest on Inside the PBC on Fox. And he said something that was very puzzling, and I wanted to make a video about this. I've been meaning to make it, and I was going to make sure I made this video. He was basically, I guess, giving a synopsis on Wilder Fury. Wilder lost his belt, as you guys know, to Tyson Fury. It wasn't his night, bad day in the office. And he's saying in the trilogy, I guess he was trying to say, we're going to see what's really good. And he said something that was really, you know, it caught me off guard hearing it. Because, you know, me personally, I don't think Larry Merchant he's not my cup of tea, you know, point blank. So, like, when I go cover fights and I see him and I see, like, media people, like, going over and interview him, I purposely don't interview him because I don't need to hear what he says. And I don't need to film it or nothing. I let him be and let him do. Because I think Larry Merchant was very disrespectful on HBO, him and Jim Lampley. They had a lot of like biased things and narratives, and you know, they particularly treated black fighters a little bit different. I remember Jim Lampley said to, who was it? He said something crazy out of pocket to Prince Nassim, but he also said to, I think it was to James Kirkland. He was like, well, James Kirkland just needs to go ghetto on him. I'm like, go ghetto on him? Like, where did that come from? You know, why would James Kirkland? It just doesn't sound like, if that was Gennady Golovkin, was that something you would say? Same thing for Larry Merchant. But anyway, in this telecast, the Inside, I didn't even know why they had him. So I wasn't even going to watch this, but it came to my attention that people said, check this out and see if you notice anything. And I did. At the end of this, where he's delivering this supposed to be powerful monologue, encapsulating the Wilder Fury saga and trilogy, he says, is Wilder the last black hope. And before he said it, it's like he knew what he was saying sounded kind of funny style, because he says, pardon my French, or, dare I say it like this, is he the last black hope? And he goes on to say, back, historically, the heavyweight division was ruled by namely black guys. This is what he said, black guys coming out of the South. So, if he loses, is he the last black hope? And I thought that was weird. Now, every time when I'm talking about race and the dichotomy of race in boxing that is clearly apparent, but people, when you talk about race, it makes people feel uncomfortable, and they don't know how to do it, because a lot of the people who feel uncomfortable, they feel a type of way because they're the enablers. Either they are the ones doing it, or they are not, they see it, but they're not willing to stand up and point it out. So when on my channel, New Media, when I founded this, I made that my point, to give every fighter a fair shake, break the game, and be the voice for the underdog, the people. And oftentimes it's people of color, black fighters, definitely black fighters, I think is number one on the list. And just people from all walks of life that aren't getting proper commentary, and, for X, Y, and Z reasons. So anyway, thought that was interesting from Larry Merchant. I thought it was out of pocket for him to say, is he the last black hope? Now, this is the thing, when people bring race into it, like, there's a Caucasian man who's been in boxing for some years on Fox, and he's randomly asking, like, it sounded kind of senile to me what he was even saying. So it was weird that they even had him, but he's randomly brought that up. He randomly says, is he the last black hope? Like, all bets are in, and if Wilder loses to Fury again, the heavyweight division won't be ruled by a successful black heavyweight for some time. I just thought that was really weird. And it's funny because on my videos, when I talk about double standards, things I see, things I hear, things I read, etc., inconsistencies, unfair inequality, people say, oh, ego, don't make it about race. Don't make it about race. Why you bringing up race? Why you bringing up color? But Larry Merchant, who's, 80, 90, whatever age he is randomly referencing this token phrase of, is Wilder the last black hope? Like he's the last survivor of a tribe, like the last Mohicans or something. I just thought that was really funny style, but I don't expect anything less from Larry Merchant, because if you look at how he treated black fighters and the type of commentary he gave them, it was always this. Lennox Lewis defeated Vitaly Klitschko. Go watch that post-fight interview. He seemed like almost like he was upset with Lennox Lewis. He was like, you said that Vitaly was basic. What do you have to say for yourself? Is he still basic? And he was like, look at his face. And then Merchant was protesting almost as if he's the commission or the ref or a doctor. And he was protesting like as if the stoppage was wrong, and Lennox Lewis was just getting whooped. And then Lennox Lewis had to plead his case on national TV instead of just saying, congratulations, you fought a tough fight against a very good Ukrainian fighter. Boom, boom, props to you. And historically, Larry Merchant, and this is one of the reasons HBO, I feel, got out of the boxing business, because they lost their voice, they lost their touch, with a lot of the antics and the commentary, on top of not, getting in some of the fights that were the most pop in that particular year. And I remember seeing him and hearing Larry Merchant. I'm like, why was he acting like that to Lennox Lewis for? Lennox Lewis just busted his man eye, and he's like, look at the status of his face. I was breaking him out. He's lucky he got stopped. And Larry Merchant seemed mad. He's constantly criticized guys like Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones beat Montel Griffin, and he said, I didn't want to do that because y'all made me. I didn't want that to go to RJ because I killed that boy by mistake, you know, and it was like never good enough. Like these sensational, crazy knockdowns that the world, you know, and me as a fan are watching. I'm like, man, how did he just leap out of nowhere and hook uppercut Montel Griffin to prove that he was the better fighter and the DQ was BS? And Larry Merchant was like almost drilling Roy Jones after sensational performances. And then most importantly, or I guess most notably, is relationship with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would beat Castillo or something, and you know, he would pull up whatever stats, CompuBox, whatever, and it was almost to drag Floyd down. Until one day, Floyd's like, HBO need to fire your ass, you don't know shit about boxing. And he was like, oh, if I was 40, 50 years old, I'd kill you, ain't gonna do shit. You know, and they had that whole little episode. And a lot of people were shocked, and they blamed Wilder, or they blamed Floyd for that outburst. He's like, you never give me a fair shake. They need to get someone else. You don't know, HBO need to fire your ass. You don't know shit about boxing. Get someone else to interview me. And when he did that, people thought Floyd was just being a jerk, or, you know, oh, this is just Mayweather. I laughed when he did that because I knew and understood exactly why he did it, bro. Larry Merchant be hating, and he be hating on black fighters. So it's more of the same. You know, it's more of the same with this, is Deontay Wilder the last black hope BS. The other thing is, like I said, when I mention inequalities, injustices, and double standard as it pertains to race, some of the fans say, oh, why are you making it about race? But Larry Merchant just randomly said that, and nobody said, like, I don't see people making videos and talking about this. But leave it to new media. We're going to talk about all this good stuff on this side, the real side. The other thing is Tyson Fury, you know, new media, we just keep winning. Day after day, we just keep winning. I'm the realest one out. I'm the one that's talking about everything that goes on in the sport of boxing. And, you know, we do it so cool, calm, collected, and realistic. So you got to respect it. But Wilder was asked a question about, you know, Black History Month, because he kept saying like, oh, I'm going to make Fury a Black History trivia question. You know, it's just a jab to, you know, poke fun of what he was planning on doing to Fury, right? And, you know, anytime Fury was asked about race, you know, he's a British fighter. He was like, oh, it's not about race. It's not about black or white. It's me. And he tried to have this like real PC, politically correct answer. And I told you on my live stream, to Fury, that's cool. He seems like a cool dude. For him, it's probably not about black or white and things like that. You get what I'm saying? But to the world at large, I told you he's wrong, because that's how a lot of people, I'm not saying me, I'm not saying Fury, I'm not saying Wilder, but that's how people perceived it. Just look in hindsight, Wilder losing, look at how people seem to rejoice. Same thing when Adrian Broner lost to Maidana, right? People lose in boxing, people get knocked out, people are unconscious all the time in boxing. But when a prominent black fighter loses, it's like there's no end to it. It's just like nonstop, you know, aha, look it, I told you he was nothing, you know, and they just try to tear you down and tear the fighter down, and then just really bury him. Like, okay, Wilder lost, but he lost to a good dude. And it's funny because Fury had those PC answers about it's not about race, and I told you guys, to a lot of people it is. Now look at what Larry Merchant's saying. He's saying, is Wilder the last black hope out of nowhere? And beyond that, why the heavyweight division, why would it be the last black hope when you got guys like outside of Wilder, F.A. Ajagba, you got Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua? Just because one fighter loses doesn't mean. So to me, I thought it makes you look at Larry Merchant different. And if you didn't already, you know, and I thought it was a weird, whatever point he was trying to make. I don't even know why they interview him. Like I said, when I see him at fights, I don't even bother to interview him, because, you know, I'd rather interview somebody else who's more knowledgeable and gonna say some cool stuff. He seems like he's far gone, like, and he just seems like one of those old school people who they've been on Earth so long that they've experienced different times and, economic situations in the world and in America and stuff like that. So they're just dead set in their ways and their line of thinking. But I thought the whole black, white hope notion was just out of line. It didn't really even fit the question. Like, tell us about the rematch. Tell us like who strategically wins and what does this mean for boxing? It just was like negative Nancy. And it was weird because they had Kate Abdo, Sean Porter, Abner Mares, after Larry Merchant gave this speech where he's talking about the last black hope, if Wilder's the last of the Mohicans, last of the black hopes, or whatever he was talking about. They were clapping like he said some cool stuff. Me, listen, if maybe I shouldn't be on a network, because I wouldn't have clapped at that. That's not nothing for me to clap at. So they would have had to be mad at me. I'm not clapping to that. I don't really understand what he was even talking about, unless he's talking about something that he shouldn't be talking about. It's just really weird. And I don't want to say too much because YouTube, they're uber sensitive, but I just thought it was a weird closing monologue, and it really tells you about the individual who has spoken such words. Again, Fury said this wasn't about race, but you have Larry Merchant who kind of stops himself and says, oh, dare I say, is Wilder the last black hope? Like, first of all, why does he have to be the last black hope? And the other thing that I've noticed about people, especially if people who are racist, this is what I noticed. People always try to compare tragedies, and when a certain group is targeted, treated unfairly, treated poorly, right? People always want to compare, like, 40 acres and a mule, 400 years. People want to kind of compare and say, oh, I was in the Great Depression, or, I remember Floyd said something, and then Conor McGregor's like, oh, but Irish people were in prison too, which is cool, if we're talking history. But people, it seems like they always want to compare. When it comes to the term, the Great White Hope, right? That's actually a term. They literally have a movie with Damon Wayans called The Great White Hope. This is a long-standing term in boxing. There's a boxing movie, like I said, with Damon Wayans called The Great White Hope, right, with Samuel L. Jackson. So this is an actual term that's going on, and it's referencing how, as a Caucasian or fair pigmented, aka white person, in sports, if you do good and do well for yourself, it's easy for, members of white America or just America in general to accept those fighters and really anoint them even before they've accomplished certain feats. Whereas different people of color and minorities, black fighters, things like that, brown fighters, they have to scrap and earn respect to not even, especially a black fighter. Like, look at Floyd Mayweather. Look at what Floyd Mayweather has done for 22 years, yet and still you still have people who want him to lose, who doubt him, who doubt his ability, who, sit up at night and like pay for his fights just hoping he loses, just like they did with Wilder. They were booing, like, we're in America, and Wilder was being booed at the weigh-in in America for what? For nothing. He didn't like say nothing. It wasn't like he said something, and it's just funny to me. Like, you look, here's an example. The UFC, they have an open Trump supporter, Colby Covington, and he was in Vegas, and he started talking about the crowd. He said, oh, Vegas, you're a bunch of losers. He said, like the Raiders or something like that. He said the Raiders came to the right spot because it has a bunch of losers. and I didn't hear no one really talk about that. I thought that was weird. So it wasn't like Deontay Wilder had really did anything at the weigh-in, and he was just getting booed for no reason. So you see it, I see it. What's understood don't have to be explained. And it's just crazy that you have personalities like Larry Merchant, and people still even care what he's even talking about, bro. He's so passe. He's so dated. The whole black hope. The thing is, that's not even a known term. There are a lot of black fighters that are dominant, black athletes that are dominant. So who even references black fighters or black athletes as a black hope when there's a lot of black athletes that are atop of each sport? So where did he even get this term from? You see what I'm saying? Where did this, like the great white hope? That's different, because there's people like I said, this is verbiage and phrasing that has been around, and we know what it means. I've asked and questioned, like, oh, is this person a great white hope before? But I'm not reinventing the wheel. Like, here's case in point. Let's say Lomachenko. Lomachenko was being called #1 pound for pound compared to Muhammad Ali. Said he could beat Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather when he had like 6 or 7 fights, because he was doing well for himself. That's why people say the great white hope. You know what I mean? Because Floyd got 50 fights, and yet people still doubt him and doubt his ability, despite beating more current, former champions, etc., and having a higher body count. Yet Lomachenko can come in the game, and by his 6th, 7th fight, because he's doing well, he beats Nicholas Walters or something. They're saying he's the next Muhammad Ali and all this type of stuff like that, you know. But as far as like, is Wilder the black hope? That's not even a term. There's a lot of great black champions. Joe Joyce, you know, there's a lot of great black fighters in the heavyweight division, you know, regardless of just Wilder himself. So him saying, is he the last black hope? I thought it was weird, really kind of a poor choice of words. He really just made up the phrase. That's not a thing. You know, you got Anthony Joshua, Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, and you know, people are having fun with this Wilder loss. I see it on another level, and you know, I'll spend more time talking about it, but I just see it on another level. So I wouldn't clap at what Larry Merchant was talking about. He wasn't spitting no gems to me. He was saying the foolishness that he used to say on HBO, and I thought we was done with that phase because HBO got out of the boxing business, and for whatever reason, Fox, you know, they decided to interview him out of nowhere. And you know, he just some people, they don't keep up with the times. Bye Miss American Pie, No Country for Old Men, you know, new media. It's just a new day, a new dawn. People can't necessarily relate to the monologues of Larry Merchant and stuff. People don't want to hear all these haikus and, you know, is Wilder the last black hope? What are you even talking about? You know, sir, what are you talking about? Why is Wilder got to be the last black hope? And see, another reason why, y'all about to really make me go in. Another reason why that terminology doesn't really work for black fighters is because whether they're doing good or bad, black fighters are constantly ostracized, criticized, maimed, and ridiculed during their success. So it's not like Wilder just lost, but previously everyone was giving him props. People were calling him Bum Squad, Chicken Leg Wilder, he ain't beat nobody, who is Luis Ortiz, why did he fight Bermane Stiverne? So this is an absolute, like I said, race has a part in a place to in this game for the wrong reasons. Now, I'm not saying me, I'm saying old media, people like Larry Merchant, because again, the great white hope, that's an actual term. Black hope ain't. And there's specific reasons you can't compare it. Like, see, what happens when it comes to racism, people want to go tit for tat. Like if a black guy goes into Denny's and he's not getting service because he's black, then you can't be like, oh yeah, one time I went to Applebee's and, you know, they acted like I didn't exist, because that could have been an isolated incident. You know, people always want to make it one and the same. So that's kind of what I felt with Larry Merchant. He's talking about, oh, is Wilder the last black hope? But that doesn't even make sense if you're just trying to say it to rebuttal the people who say the great white hope. Because, like myself, because again, is he the last black hope? but people acted like it was hopeless for Wilder. So that in itself doesn't make sense. People ridiculed Wilder. They said his resume was horrible. They didn't give him credit. They said he was windmill Wilder. So they're not giving him credit. Like Lomachenko, for example, or Triple G or whoever that would get the typical great white hype or great white hope commentary. Like someone would say, "Oh, is this person a great white hope?" That's because they're receiving a level of praise before they've accomplished certain feats. Before, like Andre Ward, he never got credited for how good of a fighter he was, you know. And I know he's biracial, I know he's black or white, but he identifies with black, and that's how, you know, it's like the rule of thirds. That's how people would perceive him. Oh, he's a black guy, right? He don't look like Logic or something where you can't tell what he is, stuff like that, right? He's a light-skinned black dude. And like I said, fighters like Wilder, Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, Errol Spence, Charlo, they're not getting credit. They're getting nonstop, you know, hate comments. And, you know, we'll stick to Wilder in this example. Oh, Wilder, who's he beat? What's he done? Da 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 da. So the whole, is he the last black hope? That doesn't even make sense, because, you know, people didn't treat him like he was the net. No one put Wilder on the pound for pound #1 list. Nobody, you know, even black people stated that Wilder is not more technically sound than certain guys like Tyson Fury, maybe AJ or Luis Ortiz, but he could still beat them based on what he does do right and his power and stuff like that. So, you know, Larry Merchant was way off the mark. I don't even know why anyone even wants to interview with him at this point. You know, and this is part of what's wrong with boxing. You got people and execs, and they think these monologues and weird stuff that certain people are saying, they think that's popping. But I'm gonna tell you what's popping. New media, that's what's popping. That's what's popping in the streets. So get with it or get lost. You know, Larry Merchant, you know, he's kind of old news. He's dated. He's not up to with the times. You think these kids that are 18, 19 are gonna relate to what Larry Merchant is saying? You know, calling Wilder a black white, or, you know, what do you say, a black hope? Man, stop it. We working.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.